We are trying to win a European trophy with a non-elite league team, and so far we're not doing great. So it's time for a new challenge, a new league, and today we'll go to Greece. Greece and Panathinaikos. One of the giants of Greek football with an illustrious history, 20 league titles, but none since 2010 and no European success. Despite being one of the giants of Greek football, they are ranked down in 4th place behind big rivals Olympiacos, AEK and PAOK Salonika. But this is a squad I'm comfortable with because I have used Panathinaikos before in a previous video, so I'm excited to get started, and they have got a really good all-round squad for this level. There are several standouts here, including Fotis Irianadis. Now this guy is a striker, but I'm going to retrain him to be an attacking midfielder, and soon you'll see why when we go at the tactics. Alongside him you've got German wing-back Philip Max, exciting Brazilian winger TATO, and former Manchester United winger Facundo Palestri, amongst others. It really is a decent squad this. Transfer wise, they've already brought a load of players in, but to be fair they did also lose a lot of players as well. That meant the squad is pretty massive, which is a good thing, because after that busy summer transfer period, they've only left us with 900,000, so for season 1 I'm probably not going to make any major signings. And as far as recruitment goes, when we get into it, it looks pretty nice because you can have a truckload of non-EU players, so you can really build an attractive squad. Now for season 1, as you can see from the schedule, we are in the Europa League thanks to last season's exploits, so that's a decent little competition for us to start off in. And that brings us to the tactic. Now as you can see, we're going strikerless in this one purely because of the sheer amount of quality attacking midfield players we do have. And that's why I'm going to retrain our boy Ioannidis to be a shadow striker. So he starts nice and normal with a flat back 4, and I'm not even pushing the fullbacks on too much. In midfield we've got our ball winning midfielder in Maximovic, who is a very good player that just signed, and then we've got those two attacking midfielders. Bakasitas is an elite Greek player, and this player is on loan from PSG. Winger on one side, higher up the pitch Palestri to support our boy in the shadow striker role. Right folks, how you doing? So strikerless time for this one, so we haven't done this yet. I've got to keep it funky at this time of year, and what I'm excited about is the central midfield areas and the wide guys. They're going to support our boy up front. Now when you're doing strikerless, it's always a good idea to have a high line, high engagement, because if you drop it off, it backs off quite a lot. So we're going to keep it high. We might change to much higher on later on. Attacking mentality, purely to get the bodies up front, because we don't actually have one. So we're about to go into this Europa League qualifier at Lugano. I think that's the final qualifying round. Then we'll get into the start of the Europa League. And interestingly, it's the normal Europa League to start off with. So it might be a better chance than when it breaks into the massive league. For season 1, what are we saying? Well, we started with that Europa League and it started shaky with a defeat away at Lugano. But thankfully in the second leg, we just about turned it around and qualified on penalties. And the good news was the tactic was confusing the opposition and putting faith in the midfielders. Yep, it was paying off. Domestically there was disappointment in the cup final as rivals AEK bested us. However, after a really impressive league campaign, I mean really impressive, which led to us winning our title in season 1, only losing one match and scoring 91 times. And out of nowhere, a key man in all of this was little known Laszlo Kleinheisler. Coming off the bench to play in that shadow striker role, his goals to minutes ratio was probably the best in Europe, scoring 24 in 20 starts. And it was a good job we had him, because our boy Iniadis took a little while to get used to the role, but now he's a natural. I expect bigger things from him next season. So this is what we're here for, the Europa League. We got through the playoff second leg after a 4-6 win over Anderlecht, which gave us the following group, looking pretty tough, specifically Manchester United. However, this gave me faith in the tactic when we drew 2-2 at Old Trafford and probably should have won. And it was a similar story in the home match as Bakasitas gave us the lead. And only a late penalty from Bruno Fernandes stopped us beating them. This led to us qualifying in second place, deadlocked on points with Manchester United, without any defeat. Hold up. Hey. Our reward in the knockouts was Aston Villa. In the first leg at Villa Park we went down 2-0. In the home leg back in Greece though, our boy Kleinheisler bagged the double. But Lucadinha scored and Villa knocked us out. I mean, we're just used to it now, aren't we? So that tactic was an absolute belter in the league, and more importantly, it was competitive as hell in Europe. So we're going to stick with it, try and add some quality to it going into season 2, because by winning that league, that obviously means Champions League football yet again. So it's time to prep for season 2, and transfers out were a bit of a problem, as our boy Bakasitas was stolen by Saudi. And overall, 8 players that were in the first team squad all left us. So we had to get busy spending £8 million. A special free transfer signing of Gianluca Gaetano for Napoli. Wants to play higher up, but I'm going to play him as a central midfielder on attack. Same deal for Samuel Justo, who's in from Sporting, a player with huge potential. Another signing from Napoli was Pascal Mazzocchi. He's going to play at right back. It cost me £1.5 million. And to play as a holding midfielder, we've got Eric Jr., Dina and Bembe. Now, he used to play for PSG. We've got him from Frankfurt for £6 million. We had to sign him as late last season. Maximovic went to Saudi as well for £10 million. There was a clutch of other signings as well, such as experienced Willy Bolly for centre-back and Liam Henderson for central midfield cover. It all means to slot into the tactic like this. The only slight change I've made is the role change in the defensive midfield position, just so he holds his position a little bit more. We've already had a pretty good pre-season, including drawing at home to PSG, which shows good promise, and we're about to jump into that Champions League qualifier. So I'm actually really happy with the upgrades. I think Gaetano and Justo in central midfield are going to be a nice combination, and Liam Henderson will give a bit of competition as well. Happy with that. Other than that, I didn't want to change too much. I've got good players in TATO and Palestri, keepers decent, brought in a couple of new centre-backs, happy with the full-backs. Now, we are about to jump into the playoff qualifiers. Part of me thinks, do we sacrifice it so we go back to the Europa League? So season 2 is wrapped, and it started with us qualifying for the Champions League and various impressive results. That might have been the wrong move, so domestically I started resting, which led to us getting knocked out of the quarterfinals of the Cup and the odd really bad defeat in the league. Despite that and our best efforts to not win the league, we blooming nearly did, but we didn't by 1 point as Olympiacos took it down. So we qualified for the Champions League phase, so we'd better give it our best shot, right? And we started off with a big win. And then a really good draw away at Galatasaray. A good fight against Chelsea at home and Milan. Our last game we drew 1-1 with Porto. So despite a decent effort, it just wasn't enough and we finished 31st. It's that same conundrum, folks, if you've been watching this series, where we start to dominate domestically, but then it puts you in the Champions League, and that's a problem. Now, between me and you, in this campaign, domestically, when we got into the Championship group, I started to play defensive football and changed the mentality to defensive, thinking that it would throw the league completely. And then these results happened where we actually started playing really well. But thankfully, Olympiacos beat us, and that was the key match which enabled them to win the league. So next season, we won't be in the Champions League. Now, as you can see, the 3 players down the spine of the team are the ones who definitely start every match. There is a load of good players here, but we definitely need to just get a few more in to help us out. Having said that, you can see some of the standouts. Now, Fortis Ioannidis has adapted to that shadow striker role. He ended the season with 21 in 21 in the league. Bit of time on the bench because I was rotating and he got a bit of an injury, but you can see the potential now. Klein Heisler doing it again, 14 goals, only 20 starts. The man's a machine. I just wish he was a bit younger. And then you've got loads of goals coming in from Justo. His first season was a great success, 17 goals, and he spent most of the time on the bench. So we'll go away now, do some recruitment, because we've got a hell of a decent little team building now. In fact, if I include the players I think will start next season, you can see a couple of defenders in pre-season, and we might be laughing. So creeping into season 3, the one thing I did need was a bit of squad depth, so I didn't let anyone leave and I brought a decent bunch of players in. Thiago Silva joins us till December, then he's retiring, he's 41, I guess I'll let him. Centre back was my big problem and I've solved it for this season with Bichiabu in on loan from RB Leipzig. We're going to have a 1 season hit from Mehdi Taremi at 34 years old, and Brazilian Ranier comes in as well on a free transfer, absolute boomer of a signing. So the tactic will revert to season 1, where I just moved the defensive midfielder back to a ball-winning midfielder. Really happy with the team. I just love another centre-back to go alongside Big Daddy Bichiabu. We had to qualify for the Europa League, and we did so in a mad match against Hajduk Split 10-7. After what seemed like 100 different playoff matches, we finally got into the league phase after dismantling Shakhtar 8-1. And the league phase went pretty well. Some impressive results meant we managed to qualify, and Braga was the first knockout round. And young Greek player Limnios scored the second, and this away result got us through. And it all came crashing down as we drew Arne Slot's Liverpool.
You son of a bitch!
Despite a great effort in the first leg, they had too much for us in the second leg and we go out 6-2. We made ourselves better by winning the Greek Cup 5-1 in the final. And after the Europa League disappointment, we fired back in the Super League. And by scoring 104 times, we won our second Greek title. So great for the fans, a league and cup double, but it also means Champions League again. We lost a few players here. I'm conscious I want to keep it quite realistic, so 5 million went out and we spent the exact same amount. The standouts were probably Malang Sarr, Josh Esperand from City, Alderete for centre-back, and Finn Stevens comes in from Juve. Not sure how he ended up there. We keep the same tactic, we look a bit more solid at centre-back and defence this time. We'll be hoping that we have another big season from Gaetano, who's been ridiculous since he joined us. Last season particularly, 14 goals and 16 assists. So that team, I'm actually really happy with it. The front 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, I'm really happy with those. I don't really want to change them. I've been chopping and changing at the back to try and improve things there, but pretty happy. So we do start in the qualifiers for the Champions League, and I did think about throwing it again, but then I played the first leg and it ended 10-1. So I think what we'll do is we'll just play the European like we'll play it. Let's keep our integrity. But when we get knocked out, and we will because it's the Champions League, we'll have a look at the Super League status and we might just throw it a bit and try and get in the Conference League for our final season.
Tell me he didn't just say that.
Season 4 finishes, you can see I did just that. From March, the results went down the pan. That's because at that point I just plugged in this, a generic preset 4-3-3. However, we then beat Olympiacos, not allowing them a shot, so I changed it again to this. And that seemed to do the job. Not many of the players there enjoyed that at all. But because we were so good at the start of the season, we still won the blooming league. Yep, this run at the start of the season gave us so many points in the bank that despite trying to sabotage things, it didn't work. To be fair, the Champions League started great. We qualified 18-1 in the qualifying round second leg.
What?
And in the final qualifier, we got through against Shakhtar Donetsk. But the league phase was a bit more brutal. It was only won the one match against Rangers and we lost 5 times and some big defeats in there as well, finishing 30th. I mean, it felt dirty to end the season playing like that, but I just thought, if we keep winning the league, we're going to have the same situation. We're going to be stuck in the Champions League. Even that didn't work. So we win the league again, this time by 3 points. Those other teams in that championship group need to have a word with themselves. It means now in 4 seasons, we've got 4 trophies, including 3 league titles. The fans will be buzzing, but my mission is getting harder. We were given our biggest budget yet, but I'm really happy with the way that we attack, so I spent big on central defence and Strahina Pavlovic, formerly of Milan, but I got him from Atletico Madrid for 11 million. He could be the final piece in our jigsaw. That means the team looks like that with day 1 as Dragowski, Tete, Ioannidis and Palestri. Really happy with the team now, it's sublime. So the plan is to fail in the qualifiers, play a crap team, go down to the Europa League, and I think we've got a great chance.
Hold up.
But there's a slight problem. The Greek League has moved up in stature so much that as champions, we now go straight into the league phase. So knowing that, we're just going to go for it. We're going to go for it and see the best we can do in this final season. I've made a couple of tweaks to this tactic to try and make it a little bit better. I am going to take the risk and push right up the pitch. That way we can get more players up there. I've also added, which I think makes kind of sense, underlapped left and right, because we've got these players bombing on and a shadow striker. Let's see if I can get us over that line. As the season's wrapped, first things to say, the new tactic version looked good as there was loads of central play, and that helped us win the Greek Cup. And in the league, after a little period of adjustment, to smash that out of the park too, winning our 4th title, and this time by a massive 12 points. And it was another bumping season for Ioannidis with 36 goals overall, and Palestri went mad with 21 assists. And with another season like that from Gaetano, he could well be my best free transfer signing on FM24, closely followed by Samuel Justo. He was a superstar all season and got us off to a great start in the league phase of the Champions League. And that 6-1 was followed up by this 2-0 win. We'd won 2 out of 2. Then we played the biggest team yet, Chelsea at home, and Samuel was there again. Our best win yet, 3 wins out of 3 in the Champions League, a quality draw against Napoli. The only real down point came against Real Madrid, and we had a reason for that because after 1 minute, 50 seconds on the clock, there's our boy Josh, and he nearly killed the man. He got sent off with a minute on the clock, and we lost 6-0. But we bounced back with a 4-0 win against Porto, meaning that we qualified from the Champions League in 9th. We didn't get the worst draw either, it was Real Sociedad, and we are flying now. We go through 5-2 on aggregate, but the reward for the last 16 was Man City. We put up a brave fight at home, losing 2-1, but City's team's ridiculous at the minute. They've got Haaland and Vinicius up front, so we had no chance. We lose that one 2-1. We might have been closer. Another red card screwed us over. Overall, our best performance in Europe yet. But the Premier League just keeps robbing us. Dudes, it's another one of those. Complete domestic domination, but that leads you to the Champions League, and in the 5-season max limit, it's so tough. But what I do love about this style of save, where you're taking over these teams, it just means that you need to find different types of players. We can all buy the wonder kids and the set established names, but we found some players throughout this series, that have contributed massively. Like Gaetano, he's 29 years old, so he's like mid-20s when you start the game. It's not someone you'd think of, but he's just completely smashed it for us at our level. And that's Tactic version 2, they'll both be available in Patreon. I mean, for going strikerless, we put up a hell of a fight. So, other than the miracle in Bulgaria, it's another failure.